Hey, welcome back to the realm of history. This is going to be the final live review session for the year. So I appreciate you being here, and hopefully you'll be able to benefit from some of the things that we're going to talk about. Pretty much a normal live agenda. We're going to take a look at some of the key advice. We'll talk about some of the key terms and key figures tonight. A quick set of AP advice, and then question and answer session with the final message. Also, if you wouldn't mind sticking around, I prepared a few final thoughts, as this most likely will be our last quiz of the year, and of course our last live review. So a little bit bittersweet, but just want to make sure that I check in with you. Remember to check in with me in the comments so that I know that you're here. Looks like we're pretty low numbers tonight, which is kind of unfortunate. But let's take a look at some of our key advice tonight. Number one, like we always said, make sure that you are studying your notes from the chapter, reading through your outline several times through tonight and then into tomorrow even. And then, of course, use the review sheet to quiz yourself and get ready for tomorrow's actual assessment. I want you to remember to pray for the right things, right? Don't pray for success on this quiz. Rather, I think you want to understand at this point that there are so many more important things that you should be praying for. Pray for your health, pray for the health of your family, the health and safety. Pray for the good Lord's guidance, to use your talents to the fullest. I think that's really what it comes down to. There's so many people out there who don't have the same luxuries as you do at this point. Number three, for one last time on a live review, be here now. Focus on the task at hand, right? When you come into the realm, pop in history, get your mind focused on what you need to do. As you guys say, locked in, or what that is. Make sure that you are ready and you're focused on the task at hand. Next, I think tonight, hey, this is the last time I'm going to get to say it. Say thank you to your parents. Make sure that you are grateful to everything that they've done for you. And even if it has to be right now, go ahead and pause this video or take a break and go make sure that you tell your parents that you love them and that you're grateful and thankful to them for everything that they've done for you. And then last but not least, meet the challenge. Don't be a Skipper McGee tomorrow. Make sure you're in school. Take the quiz. If you're leaving early for an event, come in seminar and take the quiz, right? Don't let it go over the weekend. Let's get it done tomorrow. All right. I think now we can go into some of our key terminology. A lot of the key terms I think are fairly straightforward this chapter. World War I, really an interesting topic, but a lot of straightforward terms. So let's take a look at, first of all, the Triple Alliance. Remember that alliances became really important, and especially leading into World War I, they played a really big role in causing how large of a scale this war became. But the Triple Alliance began with Germany, Austria-Hungary, and also Italy. And now we're going to learn what happens. We learned what happened with Italy. They didn't stay in that alliance. On the opposite side of that, you have the Triple Entente. You have Great Britain, France, and Russia. This was before the war began, right? So these were alliance systems that were created before the war. Once the war gets closer to starting, it really ends up being the Triple Alliance became the Central Powers, which were Germany, Austria-Hungary, and they were supported by Bulgaria and the Ottoman Empire. When I say supported, I'm talking about, yes, they sent troops, but not to the large scale that the Germans and Austro-Hungarians sent. On the other side, you had the Allies. What was once the Triple Entente became the Allies. You got Great Britain, France, Russia, and they were supported by Japan, Serbia, and Italy. Remember, the Japanese, one of their big roles was to try and supply Russia, but also to fight against the Germans in the Pacific region. Italy seems to have changed sides. They were actually very upset with Austria-Hungary. They felt that Austria-Hungary was kind of bullying Serbia, and they felt that Austria-Hungary unjustly began the war by declaring on Serbia. So they switched to the Allied side. One other country that you could add to the Allies, the United States. The United States came in very late, 1917 April. So they were only in this for about a year, but nonetheless, they did come in on the Allied side. One of the big questions today was about the annexation of Bosnia-Herzegovina. This basically means the takeover of those regions by Austria-Hungary, which made Serbia angry and ultimately led to a pre-war standoff. I think What you really have to understand, though, is that those two countries, okay, Austria-Hungary and Serbia, they were both trying to expand to include more Slavic-speaking peoples under their boundaries and territories. And so that's really one of the big picture things that caused a lot of tension before World War I. Another big question from today's class was the Alsace and Lorraine territory. These are territories, okay, or lands lost by France during what was called the Franco-Prussian War of 1870. And this was one really big reason why Otto von Bismarck in Germany believed that France was actually the greatest threat in Europe to them, as he felt that France would one day try to retake those territories. And so that's why he tried to isolate France by making alliances with the many countries around them. Now, remember that during this war, Germany was in the middle, and they had to fight the war on two fronts, the Western Front against France and the border there, and the Eastern Front against Russia and the border there. So the Schlieffen Plan was their military plan and strategic analysis that was supposed to help them win on those two fronts. And basically, I want to explain it to you. They planned to attack France first, defeat them quickly, and then hustle back to the Eastern Front to face against the Russians. Now, they believed, as I told you in the notes, they believed they could accomplish this plan for two big reasons. Number one, they believed that France was weak and that they would be able to defeat them within 2 weeks. They also believed that due to Russia's lack of industrialization and lack of railroads, that it would take Russia a very long time to get to the front. They were estimating about 2 weeks. In reality, it took Russia only 10 days to get there. So Russia moved a bit quicker than the Germans had expected. Nonetheless, they didn't even win the first major battle on the Western Front, which was the Battle of the Marne. So the Schlieffen Plan became null and void. All right, some key figures. Otto von Bismarck, big figure. He was the German prime minister. He basically created the Triple Alliance to surround and limit France's power. He was forced to resign by Kaiser Wilhelm. I want to remind you that prior to Kaiser Wilhelm forcing Bismarck to resign, Bismarck had made a side deal with Russia. And so Russia was in with Germany for a while too. The Kaiser kind of didn't really keep up with that alliance, and Russia then withdraws, and they go into an alliance with France. So that was really a big component there as well. I want to talk briefly about Woodrow Wilson, the United States president who represented the United States at the Paris Peace Conference. He came up with his 14 points, which were advantageous and helpful. He also, though, proposed what he said was a League of Nations, a series of alliances that would protect against aggressors like Germany in the future. Even though he proposed it, many countries joined it. The United States did not join it, did not get approval from people in the United States. United States members of government wanted to remain and go back into isolationism. Next was George Clemenceau. George Clemenceau was the representative from France at the Paris Peace Conference, or Treaty of Versailles. You also had David Lloyd George. He was the representative from England at the Paris Peace Conference. And then you had Vittorio Orlando, who was the representative from Italy at the Paris Peace Conference. Now, those guys, those four, Woodrow Wilson, George Clemenceau, David Lloyd George, and Vittorio Orlando, were known as the Big Four. They were known as the Big Four, and they represented the countries that made most of the decisions at the Treaty of Versailles and the Paris Peace Conference. Italy was angry because they didn't get much land out of it. Japan was angry because they didn't get much out of it. And so that's why they joined in on the side of the Germans for World War II. Okay, I got a quick bit of AP advice for you. So what I want to say here, let me look at my sheet. I just want to remind you that AMSCO reading was topics 7.1 to 7.3, all very pertinent to World War I. And then the next thing I'm going to say is about the SAQ. You know, the SAQ does not have a prompt, so it's going to be 3 questions you have to answer. And it's really going to be focused on terms and concepts that I would actually, in looking at it right now, I'm looking at it, really the terms and concepts that are discussed and you're going to have to answer about were covered not only in my lectures, but also in the reading from patterns of interaction and also in the AMSCO reading. So I think the SAQ should be pretty self-explanatory, should be pretty straightforward. Most of you should do very well as long as you use the ACE format. Remember, you need to write at least 3 to 5 sentences to get full credit. At this point in the year, if you put a 1-sentence answer or a 2-sentence answer with not a whole lot of substance, I'm just going to mark that one wrong. I don't really even need to read it. You have to follow the ACE method. Answer the question directly, right? Then cite historical evidence. Use key terms here. Use pertinent, historical, relevant information. And then explain how your historical evidence supports your initial answer. That's ACE. If you can do that, you're going to be in good shape as long as you can use actual historical evidence. The MCQ is going to be the MCQ. All right. It's a little bit of Italy, a little bit of Ottoman Empire, a little bit of Britain and France. I will say that there's 2 documents in the prompt, and there are, let me give you the exact numbers here. You guys were asking today 3 MCQ questions related to those 2 prompts. Okay. So there's not really much you can study for. You're going to have to read the prompt and the questions to be able to answer. Just remember, when you're going through those answer possibilities, you should look for the 2 that are definitely wrong. Cross those off. Then you're going to have 2 that are hanging around. One's going to be the actual answer. One's going to be the distractor. The distractor looks like it's right. So read it carefully, right? Take a look at it. Okay. Take a look at both the distractor and the real answer. You're going to have to decide. It's not easy. That's how the AP College Board writes their questions. Okay. You're just going to have to deal with that. Then I would also advise that you read the questions and the sourcing information before you read the prompt. That'll give you some information as to what to look for and what to think about as you're reading. All right, I think that's my talk, roughly 15 minutes there. Let's go to the question and answer session. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the comments. I hope that you all checked in. I do appreciate that. And I'm going to scroll up. Not sure why we have so many people against me here. So many revolutionaries. Everybody got an armistice. I see we got some help there. Or here's some questions here. What was the Zimmermann note? All right, the Zimmermann note was the letter from Arthur Zimmermann, the German foreign minister, sent to Mexico to try to get Mexico to basically attack us. That was the Zimmermann note. That's really what got us into the war. The Gallipoli campaign was an effort by the Allies to create a supply line to Russia by conquering a region of the Ottoman Empire called the Gallipoli Peninsula. It was a failure. The First Battle of the Marne was a very significant battle because it was our first battle on the Western Front, and Germany lost, which meant that the Schlieffen Plan was null and void. And the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk was an agreement between Russia and Germany when Russia withdrew from the war. So there's 3 major reasons the United States joined the war. Number 1 is unrestricted submarine warfare. This is when Germany declared that they were going to sink any ships that were found in British waters or near British waters. Doesn't matter what country, doesn't matter what kind of ship, fishing ships, cargo ships. So United States ships were getting sunk. Some of them were passenger ships, some of them were military ships, some of them were cargo ships, but the Germans were taking out our ships, so that made us mad. Then there was the sinking of the Lusitania, which is really separate from unrestricted submarine warfare because it was a passenger ship that had over 1,000 people on it. 128 of those were United States citizens. So that's the second major factor. And then the third major factor is the Zimmermann note, which I just talked about. Also just answered this one. That's the first major battle on the Western Front, Allied victory. This I'm not going to tell you. It could be any form. I could make it a regular multiple choice. I could make it a matching. I could make it a short answer. Could be a combination. Knowing the format there is not going to really help you. Okay, new weapons, right? There's several charts in the book, especially section 2, that talk about these, but fighter planes, artillery shells, machine guns, tanks, submarines, to name a few. Those are the ones that we're taking a look at. The annexation of Bosnia-Herzegovina is significant because, remember, Austria-Hungary and Serbia both had Slavic-speaking peoples, and they were both looking to expand. One area that's in between those two territories is Bosnia-Herzegovina, right? The Austrians take it over first, which angers Serbia, which leads to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So it's really the big factor that began the war if you link them together. Is this our last test? Most likely. Okay. So I can't say for sure, but if you look at when we come back from break, I mean, there's just not a whole lot of days. I want to spend the last week before May 8th reviewing for the AP exam. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm going to stop and shut everything down. Wherever we get, I'm going to stop and shut everything down the week of the 8th, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all review time, all practice exams. We'll do a set of 55 MCQs on Monday. Monday night, we'll write practice SAQs. In class on Tuesday, we'll write a DBQ for practice. Tuesday night for homework, we'll write an LEQ. Wednesday, we'll do like a mini full exam. You know what I mean? Like, we'll grade everything. I'm not going to have time to grade those LEQs and DBQs, but you're going to get an experience writing them. Now, the week prior, I think we have 1 week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach as much as I possibly can. I'm not going to give a quiz because it wastes a day, and then I have to do a review day and it wastes a day. So I'm just going to keep teaching to get us as far as possible, hopefully through World War II. And then bam, we go right into AP exam review. I don't understand the rest of this question. Sorry, I'm not sure what that means. Seculation of school. I'm not sure what that means. Gallipoli campaign was a campaign by the Allies trying to create a supply line to Russia. It was failed. Did total war lead to rationing? Yes, because it's where government devotes all of their resources and efforts to the war. So yeah, rationing is a part of total war because you get your civilians involved, right? Yes. I already answered this one. This is the treaty that Germany and Russia made when Russia withdrew from the war. Russia did have to give up some lands due to the Bolshevik Revolution and their shortages. They withdraw. Any other questions tonight? I am here for a few more minutes. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions there that are pertinent. So I'm going to go into my final message today. All right, so I got something that I just want to go over with you. So, I just want to say to all of you who are still here, thank you to some of us who are here. We know we started these with about 120 kids, and we're at about 35. So that's kind of sad. But thank you for joining the live sessions, and I hope that the time and work and effort that I put into these sessions has been beneficial for you. I certainly hope it's helped you on the quiz papers and the assessments. This is kind of a unique thing that we do. I hope that you understand that. I don't think a lot of kids get to experience something like this. And I know that at least many of my colleagues and teachers that I talk to don't do anything like this either. So I really think it was a great experience. And I just want to say thank you to you for being here and being a part of that. And of course, I want you to know that I care about you a lot. It's a lot of love for you as my students. And remember, the Realm is really a family. It really is. So you guys are welcome to come to the Realm anytime as you go throughout the remainder of your academic careers. And of course, if I can help you in any way, I would be open to doing that. But certainly, as we are having short on time here the next couple of weeks with 10 days going on spring break, I'm going to miss the times that we've had in class and some of the funny times we've had on the live reviews as well. And I'll always cherish those moments. So that's just my final message today. Just a final thank you. I'm going to go back and check and see if there's any other messages that I can answer. Oh, here's one interesting. What's my favorite chapter time period? Native American history is my favorite chapter. So chapter 16, I like to teach about that time period and that information. All right. So with that was a good last question. I appreciate that question. I want to say have such a wonderful night and make sure that you are saying thank you to your parents, praying for the right things. And then we will see you tomorrow for the quiz. Hey, signing off for one last time.